All right, hey everyone, Mark here, Mark Pre-Markets. Thanks for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis here, and I'm simulcasting. I'm in TradingView. Okay, hold on, let me just get my screen together here. And I'm also in a couple other places. All right, cool. So hello everyone. Thanks for joining me today. What we're going to do, if you're new to the stream, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the economic news. All right, we're going to go over the economic calendar very quickly. Then I'm going to spend a good 10, maybe 15 minutes on Bitcoin, hopefully shorter than that, but you know how I go. I like to talk. And then from there, I'm going to answer your questions. So if you have a question about a stock or an altcoin, please share it in the channel now. One symbol per person, please, or per question, so that I can have a better chance at answering more questions since I'm simulcasting in two places. Okay. Also, if you'd like to share what city or what country you are in, that's always a fun fact. Okay, so I know the TradingView people take a little while to get going, but again, TradingView people, once you get into the channel, you can share your question. And once I complete my Bitcoin analysis and scenarios, then I'll get to your questions. All right, so with that, let's get started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Okay, great. So now let's move along here, and let me just turn this slide off, and you should be able to see me and my chart. Hey, everyone. Okay, cool. Let me just say a couple of hellos. Hold on. So what do I got in my chat here? I got Shay Shank. Hey, good to see you. He's from India. Like it's like 4:30 a.m. over there. I appreciate you stopping by. I got Dan, good to see you. Kai, Alex, all my regulars. Douglas, good to see you. Philip, hey, welcome. Elizabeth. All right, cool. So we're going to get through that. And I got some people in TradingView. That was quick. Got Freeloader. All right. And Stian. Okay, cool. So let's first talk about the economic calendar. TradingView has its own calendar, so you can take a look at that. By the way, I have to stick to house rules. So anything that I talk about will be within those guidelines. Okay. Also, so economic calendar, again, you can check out the TradingView one. I use a separate one that's off the screen right now because it's just one that I like to use. It doesn't matter which one you use. All right, so very quickly, we have, today's the 18th, right? So tomorrow, the 19th, we have Chairman Jordan's speech from the Swiss National Bank. That shouldn't be a big deal, okay? We have People's Bank of China interest rate decision. That's tomorrow. Now, typically, that doesn't really have like a global effect, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'm going to skip a couple here. Now, on the 21st, we have Chairman Powell's speech. Now, that's an important event, okay? I don't know what time he speaks, but the thing is, if there are any surprises in what he says, you can see a range expansion across the entire everything, you know, S&P, dollar, bonds, everything. So you want to be aware of that. It's important to control risk. If you have a position, maybe you're green or maybe you're slightly red, perhaps it's time to make an adjustment there going into that speech. That's the reason why you need to be aware of it. As far as reacting to what he says, can't do that. Let the market figure it out, okay? Like I wrote in my TradingView article yesterday, I let the market figure it out, and then I look for the next move. I don't try to figure out the next move. The market does that for me, and then I should say the following move is where I'm looking for potential risk-taking, right? Or potential opportunity. So also on the 21st, we have for the pound, okay, Governor Bailey's speech. All right, I'm going to ignore that one. All right, then on the 21st again here, it says Fed Chair Powell speech. So I don't know if that's a mistake or if he's speaking 2 times that day. I don't know what the story is, but obviously the guy is speaking a lot. So be aware of what time he's speaking, because if he, like I said, any little hints of something can really move the market in a dramatic way. It doesn't matter if what he says is true or not. What matters is how the market interprets it and prices it in. That's all that matters. All right. So everyone that likes to, people that are that like the illusion of control and feel like they're informed, stop with that. Okay. You need to understand that it's about the perception of the future, and that perception can change. That's why you have to keep an open mind, and you can't like say, well, I think this. There's no thinking. Let the market do the thinking. All right, so let me see. On the 22nd, okay, not important. And let me see. All right, so I don't see anything else here. On the 22nd for the pound, there's another Governor Bailey speech. And there's a couple of other things in here like Germany, Europe. These are not important. I'm not even going to mention them. All right, so let's move along here. So the main news item this week would be Chairman Powell speaking. Okay, so please be aware of that and make sure you know what time he speaks. All right, so now let's talk about Bitcoin. Now, here's the thing. So if you read my article yesterday, basically, I talked about the potential scenarios that can occur this week. I'm still looking for 35K. All right. Now, right now at this moment, nothing really has changed much. Here, let me open this up a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Nothing really has changed. Okay, so I'm going to pull up here my little rectangle tool. This right here, this area up in here, that's generally a lower high relative to the 69K high. That's all that matters, okay? Then we have this situation right here, which is another lower high, basically around that 42K area. Now, with that being said, we need to keep an eye on this zone because that zone is a resistance zone, the entire zone. So that limits potential. On top of that, we have an environment that is not favorable for any sustainable rallies. Okay, the bond market keeps continuing lower. Interest rates have risen more than 70% since January in this country. That is not good. Okay, for easy money rallies. You understand? So we may get temporary rallies, but if you think for a moment that Bitcoin is going to have the ability to go to like 100K or anything like that, you're being unrealistic. Okay, so let's talk about this situation right here. There is a change taking place, right? And I see a question in the chat. Is this a good place for a long? Well, here's the thing. You have a setup, okay? But setups can appear anywhere randomly. So we have this little mini double bottom failed low situation. Okay, so that's great for like a day trade type of thing. But the location, let me ask you, is this location an important support? 40K? Not really. Yes, it's a whole number, but based on previous price action in this area, okay, it's not really that significant. So the location is definitely less than ideal, which means I would have to characterize this as an aggressive setup because I want to see this, what you see here. I want to see that, but I want to see it here. That's where I would be comfortable with a swing trade or more confident with a swing trade on the long side. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean you have to ignore this. It is a setup, but the location, like I said, is more random. So that means it's better to expect it to be less reliable. So let's talk about possibly, if you're interested in taking this type of swing trade, what you're looking for. First, this has to be closed. Okay, this candle needs to close. The candle is still open, but that looks like it's going to close something like that. We only have a few hours before it closes, right? So the next thing you need is this high to be taken out. So once this high is taken out, you have your buy signal at that point. Now, that's all fine and good, but what's the risk? Well, the risk is going to be defined by this candle low. You're looking at a minimum of 2,000 points for a swing trade. Minimum. That's probably a little tight to begin with, okay? So you should probably, the stop should probably go about 3,000 points, right, from this buy signal, from the buy price. The buy price would be 41K, right, just above 41K. So you're looking at what, 38K or something like that? What's the low of this thing here? 38.5. Okay, so your stop would have to go somewhere here. And there's a good chance that it's going to get reached because this is a random location. All right, so you need to understand that. This is like a 50-50 type of situation. You don't really have anything favorable going on here, right, as far as location goes. So that would be the entry up there. Your stop would have to go around there. Again, this is just, the potential scenario. Now, here's the thing. As far as reward potential, if you expect more than 1-to-1 on something like this, again, you're being unreasonable and unrealistic because price is going back. If it can get a rally going, it's going back into this very wide resistance zone. So the chances of it breaking out of this zone are low, especially in light of where the S&P is. Because again, Bitcoin does not trade in isolation. Bitcoin is linked to the S&P. The S&P is very vulnerable right now, and it's only going to get more vulnerable. So you need to understand, while the S&P is trying to turn around right now, we can take a look at the chart real quick. In fact, let's take a look, because I saw the S&P was bearish earlier, right? And now look, it's trying to give us a little pin bar situation. Look at that, right? This is actually a buy signal developing on the S&P. But how far is that going to go? There's no way to know how far it's going to go. The thing is, you have to be reasonable. And a reasonable area would be the midpoint. This would be reasonable in here. What would be unreasonable is up here, okay? While it's possible, it's unreasonable because the environment doesn't support that. We're in a rising rate environment, which is bearish for everything. So you need to understand that that pressure builds up, okay? So back to Bitcoin. So you may get a little bit of a push off this. Just understand your profit targets need to be extremely conservative. And for me, that means 1-to-1. If I can get 1-to-1 or maybe a little bit more than that, I'm happy and I'm out. I'm not using targets 2 and targets 3 in these situations because I know that the rally potential is very low. I had a pound dollar trade on a couple of weeks ago, thanks to one of my people, James. James put out a chart, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good chart. I shorted it, and it took about 2 weeks for that stupid thing to reach its first target, the only target that I had. Okay, target one. It was a 1-to-1 reward risk. Not too long after it reached that target, the stupid thing bounced. Okay, because of whatever pound news. I mean, look at this. It bounced. Look at this bounce. I mean, now it's going lower again. But the thing is, this can really shake you out, right? Anyway, 1-to-1. That's the point. All right, so that's my Bitcoin situation. As far as, so I just basically outlined the potential buy signal and what you should expect from it. Okay, 1-to-1, which means a 2,000 point target. So if you're buying this thing at 41, 42, 43, you're looking to get out around 43-ish. Okay, something like that. Like I said, unless there's a wild rally, but chances of that are low. Now, what's the other scenario? Well, if this thing fakes out, which is very possible, especially since you're going right back into this resistance area, which I have very little confidence that it's going to push through, then you're looking at a break of this 38 low, all right, which is very possible. And if we see that, you're looking at 35K. That 35K number can occur possibly by Thursday or Friday, maybe early next week. There's no way to know when. Okay, people always want to know when. I have no idea when. All I know is the level carries value. Okay, that's all I know is that's an area that I'm interested in for a long. Either price works its way there at some point or it does not. Okay, and if it does not, like right now, it's trying not to. I have to decide if I want to adjust to that. I don't personally like this location, so I am not going to take that. Okay, I'm probably not going to call that either. But I just don't like the location. It's random. We're basically at the midpoint between this low and this high. Why would I want to buy at a midpoint? This is not a trend, right? Higher lows and stuff like that are more reliable in trends. We're in a consolidation and we're at the midpoint. So I always look for all the reasons not to get into something. Okay, everyone's always looking for reasons to get in. I look for reasons not to get in until I run out of those reasons. When I run out, then it's probably time to get in. Okay, does that make sense? I do the opposite of everyone else. All right, so that's my Bitcoin situation. Let me know if you have questions. And now I'm going to go to your questions. All right, so let me see what I got here. Wow, I see a lot of stuff going on here on TradingView. All right, cool, people. It's good to see. All right, so let me start off here. All right, so I said hello to Shashank. Dan, I answered your question there. Okay, Kai, I'm XMR USDT. Okay, XMR, right? Monero. Let's take a look. What's the story? Oh, look at that. That's interesting. That seems to be doing its own thing. Let's take a look at some levels. First, let's look at the weekly chart on Monero. What a nice move, right? Okay, but here's the thing. Definitely don't want to be chasing something like this because if you're not in from that low or a lower price, you missed it. Okay, first of all, I wasn't paying attention to this. I've had a lot on my plate, so I haven't been paying attention to a lot of these things. But here's the thing. At this point, first of all, let's just look at it from a short-term Elliott wave perspective. I see a 1, a 2. This is certainly a 3. Okay, so you have a potential 4 coming and a possible 5. That's one way to look at it. But at this peak where it is right now, at this potential 3 high, you have resistance here. All right, so what price is that? That's around the 202. What is that? 255. So 250, 255 area, 260. Not a good place to be putting on new longs. Good place to be taking profits if you have profit. All right, you're buying near highs if you buy this thing. So definitely don't want to chase it. You want to look for a pullback, if anything. Sometimes you have these coins do their own thing. That's just the way it is, right? Sometimes people get together in a chat room, they start promoting something, you know how that goes with the herd mentality. And that's why, you have these altcoins just do something wild and irrational. So it's okay to try to take advantage of that. You just have to understand where you're doing that and where your next better probability locations are. In a situation like Monero, I mean, you have to look at like some old resistances here. You have one here. What is that? 186, right? And then you have this. I don't know what the story is with this tail. Okay, I don't know if that's real or if that's a bad price. But that area right there, 208, you can round that to like 200. Those would be your supports. Okay, this zone in here would be a good place to be considering it, if anything. But also you have to keep in mind Bitcoin, right? Because if Bitcoin breaks its supports, I don't care how nice this looks, it's going to feel the pressure, right? And let me just kind of give you a case in point. Remember all these like Luna and all those other nonsense ones? Now look, they're trying to perk up, but when Bitcoin was pulling back, all this, look what you had to sit through, right? Especially people that bought that breakout. So yeah, look, they look like they're starting to do something again, but I wouldn't touch it on this candle. All right, that's too wide of a candle, and there's not enough reliability in this market. These things are not poised to go anywhere until there's speculative money coming back in. All right, as far as speculative money goes, all you have to do is look here. Right, that's the 10-year note. Does that look bullish to you at all? No. Okay, yeah, you can double bottom with a pin bar. Doesn't mean anything. The trend is bearish, which means rates are still rising dramatically. As long as we're in rising rates like that, speculative blah 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 is limited. So don't get your hopes up anytime soon. I don't mean to be pessimistic. I'm just telling you the reality of the environment. Okay, some people want to be lied to. I don't lie. I tell you the truth, and I don't fill you with false hope like all the other fake gurus. By the way, fake gurus are, if you think about it, you may wonder, because I think about this, why does the industry allow so much fake gurus? I'd say like 95% of this industry is fake. Why? Because it's good for the industry. It stimulates trades. Okay, you have fake gurus telling you this, giving you hope, buy this, hold that, blah, 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 right? And they make you trade, basically. It leads to more activity, and the industry makes money from that activity because they collect the fees. That's why fake gurus are so rampant and no one does anything about it, okay? Because it's good for business. It's just not good for the retail trader. So it just depends on what side you're on. Okay, so that's XMR. Let me move on to the other chat here. I got a lot of questions. I want to get to them. All right, so let me see what I got here. All right, so freeloader, MTTR, let's take a look. All right, I want to try to get to everyone's questions. So if I missed your question, I apologize. I do this every Monday, by the way, so you can come back next Monday, but I'm going to, work as quickly as I can here. By the way, I'm going to try to keep this at an hour. I always say that every week, and I always go over. All right, so MTTR. This is a pretty nasty looking chart. Let's take a look at a weekly. By the way, charts, okay? People are always looking for, they think all the solutions are on a chart, but that's not the case. Charts basically serve as a point of reference. Charts cannot tell us the future. And what we can do is basically get a sense of how price may react at certain levels in the future based on previous action. But people try to find every little thing they can in a chart. Charts are very limited as to what they can give you because you can't see the real market, okay? Everything on your chart, I made a comment on my TradingView article that everything on your chart is obsolete. That's true, okay? Because it's obsolete because we cannot see the activity that's here in that area. We can't see the order book. We can't see the real order book, okay? We can't see who's maneuvering, how they're adjusting their size, who's in what positions. We can't see any of that valuable information. So we're stuck with very limited information, and you need to be able to make decisions on that information. People like to feel like they're in control or informed by consuming lots of useless information like news and all kinds of other worthless stuff. It doesn't help you as far as timing goes. Yeah, you'll sound smart, but that's about it. Okay, not going to help you make money. So anyway, back to this thing. You have this initial, this bearish movement right here. It took out all these supports. Okay, took out all those supports. Not only has it done that, but you have a lower high in place here. I wouldn't touch this thing as a long. You may, I could see, why you might be interested because of a potential double bottom developing here. but the structure is so against you, I would anticipate a lower low, okay, not a double bottom to hold, especially since this is a NASDAQ chart. These things are not these, so it's a growth stock most likely. These things are not poised to do well anytime soon. So no longs, okay? I see the lower high, I would anticipate a lower low. So if you're not in it, stay away from it. If you're in it, you need to adjust as far as maybe tightening the stop, taking the loss or something. That's what I have to say about that, okay? Very quick. All right, so what else we got here? Thanks, freeloader. So Stian, okay, cool. Hero, USDT. All right, let's take a look. Hero, USDT. What's the story here? Ooh, all right, so weekly chart, right? Look at this, what a mess. This thing, talk about getting sucked into garbage. I mean, look at this. Imagine buying that high. How much is that thing? 26 cents or something like that there. Imagine getting sucked into that because some fake guru convinced you that this thing was some kind of special thing. All right, look at this thing. So lower highs, I see potential lower lows, right? Same thing. That was the weekly chart. Let's just go back to this daily chart and just see what the most recent price action is saying. Because I just see bearish after bearish after bearish, right? We have a lower high over here. It's trying to find support. Look where it is, right? It's below that support area right there. So this thing, I can see bullish pin bar developing there, right? So I could see why there may be some interest in it, but the structure is so against you and the environment is against you. No way. All right. So this thing has very little potential. I wouldn't touch it. If you want to get involved in something like this, first of all, with a coin like this, swing trades are usually not worthwhile. Usually it's better for like a longer term position type trade. And if that's what you're going to do with something like this, then for one, you better believe in what they do. And for two, it would be nice if it had a better structure, meaning it takes out a resistance level. And this is your first resistance at, what is that? 5.5 cents, basically, right? So it'd have to take out this area and start to build higher lows. Then you'd at least be in something that is showing a bullish structure and is likely to continue, right? Or at least go into some sort of consolidation. You don't even have that yet. This could be the beginning of a consolidation, but it's too early to tell, right? So, I wouldn't get involved in something like this. There are much better charts out there than something like that. Again, if you do take a long off of this bullish pin bar, I would consider it extremely aggressive, and you'd have to expect very little, okay? Like expecting it to go all the way back up here is not realistic. Okay, at least not right now. But the midpoint, if you want to look for a midpoint, which is what, around 0.46, around there, something like that, that's all you're looking at. So it's really, in my opinion, it's really not worth it. You can find much better charts. Okay, so thank you for asking. All right, let's move along. Oh, got MD from Germany. Hey, welcome. All right, cool. All right, let me jump over to the other chat here. Let me see what I got. So I got Alex. Can you look at TEF? All right. Can the weekly trend change to bullish after these months of consolidation? Let's take a look. What is that? TEF. All right. Ooh, all right. So what do we have here? That's an interesting chart. Now you want to know, can the weekly trend change to bullish? Let's go to the weekly. Can the weekly trend change to bullish? Well, you have a potential breakout on your hands here. Look, you took out that range resistance, which is interesting. You have a higher low, right? A higher low established here, which is also interesting. So it's possible that this is a bullish breakout. Now, I don't know exactly what this company does. Obviously, it's not it's on the New York Stock Exchange, okay? But here's what you have to keep in mind. We're the environment, right? So we're not going into an environment that really favors a lot of these things. So you have to just be careful with that. If this is like a utility of some kind, a lot of utilities have been doing really well because there's like this sector rotation thing going on, but don't be fooled by that, okay? So what do you do in this situation? Well, I certainly wouldn't be buying the breakout, okay? Certainly wouldn't be buying that. If anything, if you want to take a chance on something like this, wait for a pullback. Your first support is going to be that old resistance at $5, okay? This area here, that's going to be your first support. So, you can wait for something like that if you want to take a chance as far as the swing trade goes and see where it goes. Just keep in mind that there is a lot of unusual or irrational movements in some of these like utilities, which, again, you have these fund managers that rotate in, they're looking for safety, and there's going to come a point where there's no more safety. All right, and that point is going to be when the S&P breaks. All right, the S&P hasn't broken yet. You have to understand, where are we? We're closed at 43.80. Weren't we just at 44 like 5 minutes ago? Anyway, when we start breaking those supports on the S&P, you're going to see pain all over the place, right? So just keep that in mind. That's all I'm saying. Keep that in mind. All right. We're not in an environment that supports any type of sustainable rallies. So buying pullbacks, just understand, keep your profit targets conservative, and don't expect like 3-to-1 reward risk in this type of situation until things change. All right. And that change that I'm talking about will appear in the bond market first. And we haven't even begun to change there. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Let me jump over to the chat. Burak, hey, Burak, could you look at XU100? Sure. Let's see. What is that? XU100. Okay. And this is the BIST 100 index. Oh, that's an interesting chart. Wow, Burak pulls up some interesting ones. Let's take a look at a weekly chart. What's the story here? Is, again, this reminds me of the utility situation. I don't know what this index is of. I'm not familiar with it, but thank you for pointing it out. So here's what you have here. Look at this nice consolidation. In fact, this looks like the dollar index type of situation. Look at these consolidations and these breakouts. I mean, this is a beautiful bullish trend. Okay, let me see if I can count like a nice clear-cut wave count on this weekly chart. Do I have a wave count? 1, 2, this could be the 3, 4, 5. This is possibly, in this situation here, even if I count this 1, 2, 3, 4, even if I consider this 4, right? Again, when it comes to wave counts, they're not going to be exact. If I consider that consolidation a wave 4 on the weekly, that means we have a fifth wave, and it's an extension of a fifth wave, which are very tricky. Okay, so just a lot of reasons not to be buying this thing now is what that translates to. So if anything, you have to wait for a pullback on something like this. If you own some of this, if you own whatever, definitely be taking something off the table. I mean, this is ridiculous. Look, it doesn't pull back, right? Like when something does, that's like not normal. So when it pulls back, it's probably going to be harsh, right? So certainly have to be taking something off the table if you own some. If you don't own some, you wait. And the first level that I'd be waiting for is like here, and then you have like this over here. Those are your levels. You can also draw, a retracement on this if you want, and you have an overlap at the 618, and you have some overlap here at the 382. So those are your levels. All right. And if you're looking for any type of opportunity, that would be the place, not where it is now. It requires a lot of patience to wait for something like that because, it may inch further and further without you. And eventually it may take like a month for it to pull back to such a level. And when it gets there, it may like fool around and break a little lower. So you have to just be aware of that. But if you're going to take any risk, those would be the places to do it. Okay. Not now. And of course, you want to wait for a confirmation and be able to have a specifically defined point of risk when you take that chance. Does that make sense? So thank you for asking. Again, whenever you see something on highs, you should automatically be thinking pullback, okay? Not, oh, I'm missing out. That's what people typically think. And of course, when you watch a fake guru, they're going to tell you, this thing is just getting started. That's what they tell you all the time, right? All right, so let's move along here. So thank you for that one. Hey, Steve, good to see you. Buckle up. Well, depends on what for. If you're talking about a Bitcoin long, definitely not. But all right. Anyway, so let me move along. I see a really long paragraph here. Wow, that's long. Let me see if I can read through that. I am new, and I would like to ask how and objectively say that we have a reversal in trend instead of saying that we are still in a retracement. I know that a retracement is still a retracement as long as prices don't exceed 100% of the previous swing. But what about the true change? Should I consider the new trend when prices exceed this 100? No. My doubt is that it happens to have short swings, and thus this definition will happen relatively soon. Do you use this method? Is there any method to use? Well, yeah, there's 6 steps that I use that basically help me be objective as far as, where I should be taking risk and stuff like that. As far as judging trends, I mean, trends can be very subjective, and also it depends on the time frame. So if you're looking at this time frame, the daily time frame, which is obviously going to be a lot slower, you want to see significant changes, and then the changes need to be sustained. I always tell people this: if you're confused about a trend, just resort back to the levels. Okay, so look at supports, look at resistance. If you keep breaking supports, probably you're in a bearish situation. Okay, if you hold supports like Bitcoin right now, for example, Bitcoin continues to hold the 35K support. That's where the support is. People know 40K, no 41K. No, 35K is where the support is. Everything outside of that doesn't count, okay, on this time frame. So that's the support. As long as that support holds, this thing is in a consolidation, but the structure doesn't favor a support hold. This is a lower high at 49K. So the structure favors a break. All right, now, do we get the break? I have no idea. So that as far as trend goes, I don't try to figure out the trend. I let the market do all that work, and I'm just looking at levels and then making adjustments as the levels become clear and as the structures become clear. If I'm clearly in a bullish trend, I'm not looking for the trend to change. I'm looking for it to continue until it proves. Okay, when there's proof of a change, like a lower high, and then supports start breaking, then I say, okay, we're either in a consolidation or we're maybe in a bearish situation. But markets usually don't go from bullish to bearish, right? It's not binary like that. A lot of times they'll consolidate, and you have to look at the bigger picture. Always resort back to the bigger picture, if that makes sense. So I hope that answers your question. All right, that's a pretty long question. Let me move along here. And good question, by the way. Can you do it on Ethereum? Sure. Let's see what we got here. Let's take a look at Ethereum. I haven't done my Seinfeld impressions in a while. That usually bothers some people. Okay, so here's my Ethereum chart. Now here's the thing. Ethereum is the same deal as Bitcoin, pretty much. Okay. In fact, this looks like the S&P chart, if anything. Now look at this. What a beautiful bullish pin bar. Very nice, right? That's a nice setup. Now, is the location attractive? Sure. Look, it's an old resistance, right? Possibly new support, and you're getting a bullish pin bar for a swing trade. Now, here's the thing. Ethereum, as we know, is not a leader. It's a follower. So if Bitcoin flunks out, well, this pin bar, as nice as it looks, won't go very far, okay? So that's what you need to realize. These things don't trade in isolation. If you take this swing trade, you're basically taking the same trade as Bitcoin. The swing trade idea would be the break of the high, 30.24, right? That would be the swing trade entry at the close of the candle. Your risk would be defined by this low, which is what, 28.80. So you're looking at, what was that high again? 30. So you're looking at a good like 150, possibly 200 point stop on something like Ethereum, which is going to equate to the same 2,000 point or 3,000 point stop on Bitcoin, right? So that's what you're looking at there. And again, as far as profit targets, I would only look for 1-to-1. So if you risk 200 points and this thing could run to the midpoint of the range and you have a 200 point profit, that's it. Party over, get out. All right, because if you're expecting more than that, you're not being realistic, or your expectations are out of what's reasonable for this environment. Because again, the S&P, while it looks like it's trying to turn around, can turn right back around the other way, because that's what the environment, in this environment, that's what we're more likely to see, especially with Powell coming out speaking on Wednesday. I mean, the guy can say something that the market doesn't like. What if he says something very hawkish? He could say something very dovish and the market may rally, but you can't go by that stuff, right? So again, this is a setup. It's a decent location. It's a better location than where Bitcoin is located, right? But it's still very similar, all right? It's still very similar because the lower part of the range, which is equivalent to like the 35K, would be this, what is this, 2492? So like 2500 area. That would be like the equivalent of 35K. So you have the same situation, all right? Does that make sense? So, I don't want to turn people off from taking some potential trade ideas. Just understand what your limitations are. In fact, I'm not going to call Bitcoin, but Ethereum, I may call Ethereum. It's a nicer setup, even though I know that it's dependent on Bitcoin. Who knows? Maybe this thing can push a little further, okay? Sometimes they do that. They act a little bit on their own. All right, anyway, so good question. Let me see what else we got here. Beyond from Florida. All right, I'm seeing a large head and shoulders developing on Bitcoin in the weekly chart. We're about to close the right shoulder to the neckline, about 35K level. Is there any? All right, so head and shoulders, all right, especially on weekly time frames, you can't really put a lot of weight on those. I see what you're talking about, right? You have a shoulder, head, shoulder, right? So that shoulder, the right shoulder that you're talking about, that's the 49K or 48K high, the lower high that I'm talking about. So it's good to observe the pattern, but I would not put a lot of weight into the pattern. Like, oh, we got head and shoulders, definitely going lower. Don't do that, okay? Because these head and shoulder patterns can appear randomly and have no effect at all. There's no advantage. There's no specific advantage to them. So just understand they can at least give you some sort of heads up that you're possibly going to make that lower low. I mean, that's basically what it's saying, but just have an open mind and realize that that pattern may carry no weight at all, right? So that's, I don't know if that you find that to be more confusing, but that's how I look at those. Like I would recognize the head and shoulders, but I certainly would not take any action on that. All right, so good question and good observation. All right, let me see what else we got here. So Douglas, all right, GMT, USDT. I think someone asked about this a week before, GMT. Oh yeah, look at that. So GMT, this is a nice looking chart. In fact, we talked about this. I think we talked about this was the potential wave 4, and it was trying to go into the wave 5. Remember we talked? I remember that because it was producing like one of these candles right here. I think it was one of those, right? So eventually, look, you got the breakout. Here's the thing. This is clear cut, right? Wave count. Look at the wave count. 1 is over here. You see that? Okay. Wave 2 is right there. That's wave 2. Clearly wave 3 right here. Clearly. Wave 4 is right here. Okay. And you are in wave 5, potential breakout. This is where all the retail traders think that they're going to buy the continuation of the trend. But this is a wave 5. So you have basically a complete impulse here, right? In terms of Elliott wave. This is how I like to use Elliott wave. It's crystal clear. There's no argument with these waves. So if you have 5 waves in place, you don't touch it because next wave that's possibly going to develop is a larger corrective wave, okay? Which can take price anywhere back into this vicinity here, all right? So I have no interest in buying that type of breakout. That's a low probability retail type of trade. So yeah, you got 5 waves basically in progress. And this 5th wave, you don't know how much further it's going to go from this breakout point. In fact, it hasn't broken out yet, but I think we can pretty much argue that that's a wave 5. Okay, even though it hasn't broken out yet. So whenever I see 5 waves, I can clearly count 5 waves. First thing I think of is don't even go near it. Okay. And you're going to have to wait for that wave 2. If we're going to call this giant wave 1, the giant wave 2, which typically has 3 legs, has to do its thing, and you want to wait for that 3rd leg before getting involved again in something like that. It takes a lot of patience. If you're going to day trade, that's another story. But for a swing trade, if you get that initial move, the A wave on that pullback, and you try to buy into that B wave, understand what you're buying into, okay? And understand that it's probably not going to make that higher high. How many coins have we seen do something like this, like Luna? What about waves? Remember waves? Look at this. Oh, waves, USDT. Remember this nonsense? Do you remember this? Do you remember that? People, oh, look, waves. Hey, I'm going to miss out on waves. Look, up at the top. Look at this thing, okay? Talk about giving it back. That's a wave 2, all right? Or that's a corrective wave, and it's just about finishing up now. So that's what you have to expect next on something like GMT, all right? Maybe not as dramatic, but that's a very good example of not buying into a high or what happens next, all right? So anyway, thank you for asking about GMT. Philip, XMR community has been orchestrating a Monero run today, okay, where they encourage everyone to withdraw all their XMR from exchanges to squeeze those exchanges that sell XMR. Oh, that's interesting, Philip. See, that's what I mean. You get these chat rooms, you realize in one chat community, there's this bot that tells you how many communities it's in, right? And the bot shows 23,500 chat communities. Now, I don't know how many people are in each community. And of course, you're going to have people that are same people in the same community. But that's a lot of chat rooms, right? So you can imagine the kind of effect they have when they all start some kind of nonsense hype rally. That's why you see these altcoins behave in strange ways, I think. All right, so thank you for mentioning. Hey, Elizabeth. All right, so I covered that. Thank you for, again, stopping by. Okay, cool. Julio, greetings from London. Hey, welcome. I hope you're okay. What do you think of AYI? It's a stock. All right, let's take a look. AYI. What's the story here? Acuity brands. All right, first thing I want to take a look is a weekly chart, see what the story is. Now, again, it's a stock. It's on the New York Stock Exchange. All right, so let's see here. Decent general trend, right? Higher lows, higher highs. Recent price action is, we can argue, is a little more bearish or corrective, lower high, right? Lower low into this support area. So you have a generally strong stock that is now messing around in a previous support, and you may get some type of reversal pattern here. Okay, so let's take a look at the daily chart. Now, here's the thing. So the more recent structure, you can argue, I wouldn't exactly call this bearish, okay? Even though you have a lower high, this lower low is barely a lower low, right? So you can call that more of like a consolidation or range low. And you have a potential test, another test coming, right? Look at today's candle. You have a bearish pin bar. All right, so that's good. As far as if you're looking for an opportunity, maybe you'll get a long opportunity upon a retest of this level here. What is this low? 164, 164 and a half, that's your low, right? This thing right now is at 171. So you have some room to play with there. So if you're interested in a swing trade, that would be the place to anticipate, right, in that area, looking for a bullish pin bar or some kind of reversal or inside bar. Now, keep in mind, you're going against this structure here, but the overall structure is generally bullish. So you're basically buying into a double bottom at this point. You're buying into a double bottom in a higher low, basically a higher low consolidation, a range low, which is basically like, you know, a broad higher low, and you're buying into a reversal pattern into that. So I think that's a decent, you know, you got the location, you got the setup at that point, you know, once it retests that low and gives you the double bottom. What you don't have with you is the environment, okay? So just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean, just because we don't have a friendly environment, doesn't mean you have to avoid all trades. Just understand what you're dealing with, okay? Understand that if you take a trade like this over here in this area, you know, and you're gauging your potential, don't think it's gonna go there. That's unrealistic, okay? But if you're trying to maybe get like the midpoint of the range, look, you have a nice little gap in here, that would be a great area. That would be much more realistic. Maybe even if you want to use this old support right here, which is the bottom part of that rectangle, those would be how you measure your profit potential. And that would be max, okay? This would be max profit, not, oh, first target. No, that would be maximum. Does that make sense? Again, that's a swing trade mentality. I'm not talking about investing. I'm not talking about day trades. I'm talking about swing trades. It's a very specific mentality for a very specific trade duration. Does that make sense? So I hope that answers your question. Good question. Thank you for bringing it up. I like when people bring up these stocks and these markets that I don't really pay much attention to, because that's how we can spot new opportunities. All right, let me see what else we got here. So Kai says, I get the notification of you streaming on, oh, okay. That's interesting, Kai. I'm not sure why. That might be like a YouTube situation, but soon I'm going to have like a bot that will put it in a place where you can get it, you know, when I click on the streaming thing. All right, so let me see what else we got here. I'm just jumping over to the other chat. Can you do a little analysis? Okay, covered Ethereum. Can you look at GMT? Got it. Oh, from Egypt. Hey, welcome. I don't get too many people from Egypt. All right, cool. Thanks for stopping by. All right, Ford. Let's take a look. F. What's going on? What the F is going on with F? This one tricked a lot of people recently. Look at this mess, right? That's what I mean. So things are all exciting, right? I mean, look at this. Everyone's getting all excited about Ford because they're going to like invent a new car or something, and then you get stuck in it. All right, anyway, that was before. Let's see where we are now. So as far as levels go, you're fooling around below that old resistance. Should have been more supportive, but price is trying. Okay, it's trying to stabilize. Understand, Ford is a Dow stock. I think most likely it's a Dow stock. I don't think it's an S&P stock. And understand that it's going to be vulnerable with the stock market. Basically, what I'm trying to say, it's a market stock. So if you want to get involved in Ford, these are typically good for longer range type plays. But if you're going to get involved in something like this, be selective. Okay, the low here is 1456. That's the low. Right now, this thing's at 1562. Use the S&P, use the Dow as your gauge, right? It's trying to find support. We saw that that was an important resistance previously, and it broke below that, right? And you can see it's fooling around a bit here. You also have a lower high over here. So I would wait for this thing to stabilize. And I'm not very optimistic about the stock market to begin with. So when you're not optimistic, or at least when I'm not optimistic, what I like to do is I like to be extremely selective, meaning I want to see some really good prices. And a really good price for Ford would be here, okay? Which is possible if we see that sell off in the S&P, all right? Which again, who knows? Powell may say something on Wednesday, I'm going to raise rates forever. He may say something stupid that the market doesn't like, and all these things will get hammered. So just keep that in mind. Don't react to what you see in the moment. Be prepared for potential scenarios. I mean, that's the whole point of this stream, is I'm trying to prepare people for potential scenarios, whether they unfold or not. You want to be prepared for them, because if they appear, now you know what to do and you're not reacting anymore because you have a plan. You were prepared for this, right? So as far as Ford goes, that's the area I would consider, because again, I would be very selective in this environment. That price would be below 14.5, okay? So again, you're looking at maybe pulling back another $1 from here, maybe a little bit more than $1, and then you're looking for a reversal in that area. If you get a reversal in that area, again, don't look for some kind of crazy amount of profit, okay? Because you're not going up to these prices. What is that, 25? You're not going back up there anytime soon. Not in this environment, you're not. So if you're risking $1, $1.50, and you can get $1.50 out of that, maybe $2, you've done your job. Okay, and that's where you should be taking money off the table. Something like this may be good for certain types of option plays as well. All right, but basically you're playing the S&P. When you're dealing with the stock, especially this type of stock, you're playing with the S&P. All right, so just so you know. Thank you for asking. Let me see what else we got here. Hey, Gotham, good to see you. Okay, hold on. I skipped Ben over here. Sorry, Ben. Let me see what Ben, TN1 for further may go. So TN1, isn't that TN1? Isn't that yeah, okay, the 10-year, ultra 10-year treasury note futures. Okay. What's the one I look at? I look at now I can't think of it now. I don't look at TN1. I look at the other one. Okay, I'm drawing a blank. I just looked at it before too. ZN, that's what I look at. ZN. Come on, ZN1. Right, that's what I look at. It's basically the same chart. All right, so TN1 Ultra. Okay, these are the Ultra 10-year notes. Maybe they're more leveraged or something. I don't know. So as far as is it going to keep going? That chart is certainly not bullish. There's no reversal pattern. Structure is just clearly bearish. You can't argue with that. I mean, let's just take a look at a weekly chart. Look at this thing. I mean, that's nuts, right? Interest rates are vertical. Interest rates look like an altcoin. What does the dollar index look like? I mean, look at this. The dollar index looks like an altcoin. That looks like some of these garbage coins that we've seen. It looks like Luna, right? The dollar is turning into Luna. Look at this. And we're going back up to this major resistance area. The dollar hasn't been this high in some time, maybe about a year, a little less than a year. That's pretty crazy, right? So again, all a reflection of interest rates. So as far as that goes, and your TN1, I would look for that to continue until it begins to stabilize. We haven't even begun, right? I don't see a consolidation. I don't see supports holding, nothing. So you have to assume that the market is going to continue that way. It doesn't mean you take trades on it. Like, I wouldn't take a breakout. I certainly wouldn't short that, but you have to assume that that momentum will continue until it proves otherwise, okay? So, yeah, and if there's a level coming up, which you may be able to spot like a level. That's where you can at least anticipate possible changes at that level. All right, so it kind of helps you gauge potential. And again, if you want to do that with this thing, let's just go back to the weekly. Where is a level where this thing may find stability? Let's go back and let's see. You're looking at, well, we're very close to one. Look at this, right? Very close to that level. And that's where you have some stability, right? So we're close. We also have here. So those are your levels. And we haven't even begun to stabilize yet, but that's where it's reasonable to anticipate some. Stabilizing doesn't mean, by the way, that it's going to reverse there. It may go right through the level, like it's not even there. So just something to keep in mind. How those levels are helpful is, like, for one, if I was looking for a short, or let's say the S&P looked like that, right? And I saw that level coming up, I would not be interested in shorting that. All right, so again, it doesn't mean you're going to buy it. Just understand what I'm saying. Okay, let me see you here. Douglas, is the main reason the stock market is that people believe that the Fed will fix whatever problem the stock market will have? No, you have to understand something, Douglas. That's a good question. A lot of people misunderstand the role of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve does not care about the stock market or care about people making money. They're not here to help you, right? The Federal Reserve, their primary job is to control inflation and the money supply and basically regulate the business cycle of the economy. That is their primary concern. And they do that in a number of ways. One of the ways is by controlling interest rates. Now, if the Fed wanted to keep a nice, happy, speculative market, they would not be raising rates. They would just be like, just let the inflation run. We could use some more, right? But they're not doing that. They're expected to raise rates aggressively, and the bond market is ahead of them, right? The bond market is going further, faster than the Fed is, right? I guess they're pricing all that aggressive rate hikes in. So no, it's not the Fed's job to support the stock market. The stock market is basically a byproduct of Fed action, and the Fed sets the tone, right? Whether they mean to or not, they set the tone. And their goal is to manage interest rates and control inflation, because inflation can ruin a country, right? We've seen that throughout history. Inflation ruins countries. So the Fed uses inflation as a tool when we need it. They stimulate things like we've seen over previous years to keep things going when there's trouble. But there comes a point when things overheat and the Fed has to go the other way. And yes, it causes pain for a lot of people, but that's not the Federal Reserve's problem. All right. So understand that's their role. And until they change their tune, the party is over. You need to understand that. Like, people ask, is this a good time to invest? No, it's not. Not until interest rates stabilize and start to turn the other way. We haven't even begun. So I wouldn't touch stocks here, not even touch them. This is not a good time. All right, anyway, what else we got? Let me jump over to the chat here. All right, I'm running out of time. I'm going to do a little bit more here. So let me see what we got. So I got Ford. Solana. All right, stronger than ETH. So Matos. All right, let's take a look here. Solana. That was another overly hyped nonsense BS coin. So let's take a look, right? 1 week. Look at this thing. Imagine buying that peak. Again, look at Solana, right? And compare this to GMT. Wave 1, wave 2, right? We saw the same thing on GMT. Wave 3 and 4, that's wave 4, right? Wave 5, and then the hammering. Okay, you see that? The broader corrective move. You see that? So all those GMT people, this is what is likely to come next. All right, now, so as far as Solana goes, as far as long term, again, this is a follower. It's not a leader. It's a highly speculative coin. Any highly speculative instruments are going to be vulnerable in this environment. So as far as a long-term play, if you're going to get involved long-term, you might as well be patient and wait for better prices. Okay, you might as well be, because and especially in this environment, don't get sucked into that fear of missing out, because there's no missing out. All right, the market is not in any type of position to rally. There's no money coming into this market. The money is leaving the market, right? So in that situation, wait for better prices. What's this low here? $78. So if you're interested in long-term, you should probably wait. If you want to start accumulating this thing is at 101 right now. Wait for $80. You're like, oh, $80, that would be an amazing price. Right, well, it can get there, because you have to understand, while these things are trying to turn around right now, they're not going to go very far. Look at this move, right? People probably got all excited. Oh, this thing is gonna 10x by next week, right? That's what all the fake gurus, they start coming out with those videos. And look, if you bought into that, now you're stuck in it. So, again, don't rush into these things, especially long term. Yeah, you have a signal developing here, just like Bitcoin. That may be good for a temporary swing trade, but as far as bigger picture investing, be more selective. Now, again, when it comes to inventory, you can buy at any price. So, what do you do in this situation? Well, you buy smaller because you want to wait for the better prices where maybe you want to skew larger. So if you had, for example, $1,000 that you wanted to invest, you don't invest $500 here. You invest maybe $50, okay, or something like that. And then when you get better prices, maybe you invest $100 or $150. And if it breaks that support low, then you start putting a little bit more money to work, and that'll give you a much better average price at much lower prices, right? That's how you want to play this, because again, there's nothing supportive about this environment. And until I see those changes, I have zero optimism. I don't care how nice the chart looks. It's the environment that sets the tone, not the chart. Does that make sense? All right, so good question about Solana. Again, speaking of hype coins, MineMint, I want to ask about the relevance of lower time frames for better price entries and tighter stop losses, whether the institutional candle concept can help in identifying better price entries on lower time frames are more appropriate for day trades. Okay, so 4-hour chart, 1-hour chart, 30-minute chart, 15-minute chart, all of those. The lower the time frame is not going to give you a better entry per se, because it's the lower the time frame, the greater the noise, right? So you may be like on an hourly chart and you may see like a higher low and you're like, all right, this is the time to buy into Bitcoin. I got the higher low. And then over the next few hours, it breaks lower, right? The higher low broke, because patterns and things on those smaller time frames are not reliable. You can't mix the time frames. Now, if you were in a day trade and you said, okay, I got a double bottom on my 1-hour chart for Bitcoin, it's a day trade, I'm only looking for a couple of 100 points and then I'm out, then that's within reason, right? That's within the same magnitude. But if you think you're going to use a smaller time frame to get a better price for a larger time frame, you're mistaken. Don't mix the time frames, right? So if you're looking for a swing trade, you stick to swing trade time frames. You're not always going to get the best price, but we're not after the best price. We're after the better situation, or we want momentum to be in our favor, right? Trying to get the best price can be very expensive, because you're usually buying into something that keeps breaking lows. And I got the low, and then it breaks lower, and then it breaks lower, then it breaks lower, right? And then eventually the structure changes and it starts to go your way, and you were getting in too early. So don't mix the time frames. All right. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's move along. Okay. So Peter, hey Peter, good to see you. All right. I don't see the Powell speech in my calendar. Yeah, Kai, he appears twice on the calendar that I look at. All right. Kim, GMT. Wow, look at that. Everyone's asking about GMT. Probably a good time to sell it. Okay. Anyway, thanks for asking, Kim. I went over that. Bearish market is still active. Yes, Shay Shank. I would say so. We're going to be in a bearish environment until interest rates start to turn. So again, that doesn't mean we're not going to see rallies. We're not going to see buying opportunities. We will, but just understand the limitations. That's all I emphasize, is understand the limitations and the risk. Don't think that, okay, got the bottom and now we're going to rally for the next 2 years, because that's not the case. We're not there yet. At some point, the market will find such a bottom, but it's just not there yet. Okay, at least not from the gauges that I look at. Okay, Arno, I have a question. Will talking markets? No, talking markets. We're not doing talking markets anymore. That was a podcast I used to do. I could say that, TradingView, because I don't do it anymore. And yeah, we're not doing that anymore. It's too many time conflicts. Trying to arrange schedules with those people is like trying to herd cats. Okay. And anyway, so that's your answer. Hope that helps your question. Hope that answers your question. Hey, Travel, good to see you. Shay, conservative trade is Mark. Yeah, well, because I've been at this a really long time and I've lost a lot of money. So I know that most of the time it's better to not do anything than it is to do something. Okay. I know that this game is set up for you to trade, and more trades does not equate to a better performance. All you're doing is making other people rich, like the exchanges everyone else that profits off of your activity, right? So that's the way this game is set up. If you do a Google search and you type something in like, how to trade Bitcoin, for example, something like that, all the stuff that comes up implies this optimistic message of, it's like a linear message that basically all you have to do is get this special strategy, or just if you work hard and you work hard enough, eventually the light bulb will go off and you're going to make millions of dollars, right? That's the message that's implied in all of this stuff. And it's all fake, just so you know. Okay. This is more a game of chance than anything else. And it's like a big casino. You need to have the casino mentality. Let me ask you, if you go to a casino and you go to play the slot machine, do you expect to make a living playing the slot machine? No, you laugh. You're having a good time. You might win something from the slot machine, okay? Same with a lot of the casino games. Do you go there? No, you go there for fun, and maybe you'll win something, okay? But when it comes to the markets, people think that, oh yeah, I'm going to make money at this regularly, and I'm going to quit my job. No, it's not going to happen, okay? Think of it more of like a casino. It doesn't have to be that way. But in order to have some sort of consistency, you have to have some sort of very strict set of rules, and you have to follow the rules, no matter what the market does, okay? People there's an emotional conflict, and they see the market running without them, and they feel that they should be in this, and they shouldn't be missing this, and this and that. That's a problem, okay? But that's a problem that's going to cost you money. All right, so let me see what else we have here. Thoughts on pivot points. Thomas, pivot points, they're random. I mean, pivot points, there's a variety of pivot point formulas, and they're based on the high, low, and close of the previous day, and they project forward, right, with some standard deviations. They tend to be very random. I've experimented with pivot points. I haven't found any consistency with them. Of course, like everything else, they work occasionally. So I don't get confused or mixed up by them. They can also be confusing at times because you may be at some kind of pivot point resistance. Meanwhile, price is going right through it, like it's not even there, right? And that pivot point resistance may get you to sell too early or something like that. So again, less is more. I don't use pivot points, all right? Doesn't mean that they're bad. If anything, if you want to compare that to something like an oscillator, pivot points, I would say, would be a better choice than an oscillator, because pivot points at least project forward, okay? They don't project backward, or they don't look backward like an oscillator. So at least you have that. Okay, but you can use fibs too. Anyway, what else we got here? So I'm moving along. LTB from Turkey. Hey, welcome. Thanks for the great lessons. Can you check on HNT? All right, let's take a look. HNT, USDT. What's the story with that? Ooh, look at that. Okay, so let's go to the weekly chart. All right, first thing I check the bigger picture, okay? Now look at this, again, another one that sucked everyone in. What's the first thing that jumps out of here on this chart? What's the first thing that jumps out? You wanna know what's the first thing? The wave count. All right, again, when it's crystal clear, I use it. It's wave 1, this is wave 2, consolidation. This movement all the way up to here is wave, well, actually, no, is this a wave 3? This is, no, because this is the smallest wave, can't be the smallest wave. So that means this entire thing is the wave 3, from this low to this high, because wave 3 can't be the smallest wave, right? So this entire structure right here is potentially a wave 4, a very broad wave 4, and it's sort of overlapping wave 1 a little bit there. So this is a little tricky, but at this point, we can still consider this a wave 4, right? And you're at a potential double bottom of the wave 4, but it's trying to break. So you're fighting a wave 4 on the bigger picture. Theoretically, there should be a fifth wave, a bullish wave coming, all right? But at this time, there's no evidence of that, right? It looks like it tried to break out and failed. So wave 4 is still in play. What I'd be looking for in something like this, if you want to give that a try, again, this thing is not even following Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's trying to bounce, and this thing is breaking support. Not good, right? That's relatively weak, but this would be an interesting location for a swing trade long. You have a potential double bottom or triple bottom there at a range low, wave 4 support. In fact, I made my group draw a picture of this exact situation, like a hand-drawn picture, because this is such an ideal situation if you can find one of these. So you have that here, except again, these things don't trade in isolation. So this would certainly not be a place to short, definitely not, okay? It would be a place to consider a long, at least for a swing trade, but there's no setup. Okay, so what you want to see here is an inside bar develop. You want to see a pin bar develop. And if you can get that over the next couple of days, you will have a buy signal on your hands. Now, again, a buy signal doesn't guarantee you're going to get the wave 5, right? This thing may not develop that wave 5. I mean, it's possible. Elliott wave doesn't guarantee that you're going to get that 5th wave, but there's a chance of that because that's typically how markets unfold. So I wouldn't be looking for that entire wave, but if you can get just this little blip, this would be like maybe somewhere within the first leg of that 5. That's a pretty decent reward risk if you can get out somewhere around there. And that would be a reasonable area. Does that make sense? So HNT, definitely good location. General structure is interesting because of that wave count. But just keep in mind, this thing's not going to get away from Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does break, it doesn't matter what kind of wave count you have here, this thing will break too. And at this moment, this is not acting in a relatively strong way. Does that all make sense? So good location, wait for the setup. All right, hope that helps. Oh, look, I got Schwartz. Hold on. Okay, I'm just jumping through here. Fake gurus love to pump. Right. Yeah. Well, fake gurus, they're incentivized to do such a thing. By the way, I can't do such a thing, even if I wanted to. You know why? Because CMTs have to adhere to a code of ethics. I emphasize that a lot because a fake guru does not, right? So a fake guru can say whatever they want. I can't. If I come out and say something stupid or something ridiculous, like, oh, Bitcoin's going to 250K by tomorrow, don't miss out. If I say something, seriously say something like that, I can get reported to the CMT Association and they'll take away my title. All right. I worked very hard for that title. So, I have to adhere to a code of ethics, or what a code of conduct they call it. Anyway, fake gurus don't. So always consider that when you're listening to someone. Most of these people, by the way, are not professionals. They're just marketers or some moron at home who's trying to make some money by telling lies. Basically, they're not industry professionals. I don't know too many industry professionals that are at this. I know a couple that I know for sure are industry professionals, but most of them are not. All right. And it's important to understand. And why are they successful? Because they sell hope. And people don't care where that hope comes from. All right. Hey, Schwartz. Schwartz is my international man of mystery. This man is either in Monaco, he's in some other exotic country doing exotic things. I love Schwartz. Thanks for stopping by, Schwartz. All right, cool. Thanks for saying hello. Shashank, okay. Okay, cool. Thomas, how often are you, well, I look at day trades actually, but I don't share day trades. As far as swing trades go, in this environment, if I can get one, I mean, I've been really busy as far as that. So I haven't called one probably about a week or two or something like that. I mean, my pound trade was my most recent one. That was I called that one like a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that's the way it's been. It's been slow as far as that, because I'm not going to jump into stuff. All right. Or I'm not going to share things that I believe are more risk, than we should be taking. Anyway, so good question. All right. Oh, from Brooklyn. I got Alim from Brooklyn. Can you lie to me about GLMR? Sure, let's take a look. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here in a moment because I got to go. All right, I'm over my time, of course. But I got this guy from Brooklyn, so I got to answer my Brooklyn guy because we're Savi from Brooklyn. I always get Savi. Savi from Brooklyn. I know they don't talk like that. I just like to do that impression because I like to. Anyway, all right, let's take a look here from GLMR. What is that? USD? Is there like a USDT? What is this mess? Okay, yeah, no way. Okay, look at this. Let's take a look at the weekly. First of all, not enough information. Maybe there's another chart. Let me see, GLM with more data on it. Maybe I should look at this one. That's not much better. Okay, so there's not enough information here. I don't see any wave count. I mean, you have a possibly 1 and you're in a possible 2, possibly, but you can't do much with this. Okay, need more information. I wouldn't be buying this. I wouldn't be selling this. In this situation, if anything, I'd wait for maybe another test of low if you can get that, this range low right here, which is what, $2.20, if you're going to do anything with it. Otherwise, you're just dealing with random noise. Okay, your support is around there. You have a resistance right in this area here. What is that? $5.40. Yeah, so that's what you're dealing with Yeah, I wouldn't be too optimistic about this thing until it starts to prove otherwise, meaning it starts breaking these resistances and gives you a higher low. Then you can consider something. But right now, I would hold off. Again, it's better to be more selective in these environments than it is to be aggressive. We're not in an environment that supports these things. Okay. So anyway, thanks, Alim from Brooklyn. All right, let me see what I got. Matic. All right, let me see what else I got. I got so many questions in here. I'm not going to be able to answer all these. All right, so people, help this guy out. He gives you his honest TA. Oh, appreciate that. Appreciate that. The likes. If you want to press the likes, I don't know how if they help me, but I appreciate that. Any pointers on rocket stocks? Okay, I'm just reading through these real quick. I'm not going to be able to answer these. All right, let me just jump over to this other one. I got to wrap this up here in a moment. What do you think about the market considering current planned interest increases as too dovish? That want to stop inflation, hence equities. That's interesting, Kai. I don't know. I don't really have any opinion on that. It's just like I look at it, I try to keep it as simple as possible, meaning I know we're in a rising rate environment. If the stocks want to believe that he's not raising rates aggressively enough, I don't know. The bond market seems to be making up for it, right? The bond market is going berserk to the bear side. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't get caught up in that. As long as rates are rising, I don't expect stocks to be doing well because it's going to start to take a bite out of things, right? You're going to see it start to get reflected in revenues, and it's going to come, right? It takes like 3 to 6 months for it to feel the effects. And he hasn't even started with those aggressive rate hikes yet. He's just been saying he's going to do it, right? So he's only raised one time so far, and we're going to be getting like more aggressive hikes, and we haven't even felt the effects of that yet. So any type of rally is going. I would not expect like S&P pushing new highs anytime soon, if that's what you mean. All right. So I hope that answers your question. I'm short on the Nasdaq. Avi says, when would the best place to close the position? Avi. All right. Well, Nasdaq is something I pay a lot of very close attention to. So you're short the Nasdaq. All right. I don't know what price you're short from, but you have a buy signal in there right now. I don't know if this buy signal is going to go anywhere, but that's a bullish pin bar. This market is closed, and it closed strong. Take out this high tomorrow, 14,002 is the high. Takes that out, you have a buy signal in place. So if you're short, this would be a good time to at least adjust your stop, if anything. As far as exiting, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where you're short from, but this thing looks like it's trying to reverse off of an area that, this is a support area where it is. So I don't know if you've taken some profit off the table yet. This would have been a good area to do it. And now the buy signal is in your face. So there's no guarantee that the buy signal will continue or go very far, right? But if I'd be looking for longs, just to give you my perspective, I would be looking for a long here, and I'd be looking for that long to at least get into this area, right? That's where I'd be setting like a price target, something like that, if I went long. So I don't know if that will help you with your short, but you should at least, if anything, be tightening your stops or reducing your risk, because this thing is poised to go higher at the moment. Now, at some point, if it finds a lower high, then you'll have another shorting opportunity. But this is certainly a place to make an adjustment, in my opinion. All right, I hope that makes sense. So thanks for asking. Hey, Scott, good to see you. All right, people, I got to wrap this up. So, I really appreciate everyone's questions. I'm sorry, I see a lot of questions that I've missed. So I apologize if I missed your question. I do this every Monday, okay, at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you can join me next Monday and you can ask me your question there, and hopefully I can get to it, okay? So again, I want to thank you all for spending some time with me here today. I hope you got something out of the stream. Again, my objective is to help you gain some sort of realistic perspective. Look at that Bitcoin candle. To get some realistic perspective and have a better expectation of what to anticipate, right? So when I title these things setups now, I mean, I don't want to mislead people into think, oh, I'm going to show all kinds of setups. We're looking for potential setups, and we're looking for levels where a setup can develop, all right? And that's what I hope I'm preparing you with. So that's pretty much it. Again, thank you all for spending time with me here today. I hope you enjoy your day wherever you are in the world. What I usually say, wherever you are in the world, enjoy your day or enjoy your evening. And thank you so much for watching.